welcome to the Ultra Running Sam podcast. So quickly, our sponsors. We are proudly sponsored by Yugoku caps. You've seen me wearing them on the podcast. You can get the discount codes from me, send me a message. I'll send them to you. They're floating around. We're also sponsored by Phoenix head torches. Same thing goes. If you're after a discount code, just get in touch. There are there on the web, but if you want them personally from me, I will send them to you. And also, finally, we are proudly sponsored by Home Trails. So Home Trails is my YouTube series interviewing famous trail runners from hopefully around the world at some point. In the UK at the moment, where we interview them on the trail in the home trails. You understand what it is, don't you? You've listened to the show. That's hopefully turning into a bit of a brand, so keep your eyes peeled for that. Okay, on with the actual show. Okay, welcome to the Ultra Running Sam podcast. Just a quick sort of housekeeping at the start of the episode before we dive into the interview with Simon about all things spine and everything else. It's not just a spine episode. We're talking about everything that he's done. So it'll be a superhero episode for all the people that like the superhero question. I just wanted to sort of give you an update on where I've been. So I've disappeared again for another week. So after, I think the last episode, I was talking to Stu and I literally just rolled my ankle that night. So managed to get over that. For people that are interested, managed to get over that within the week and tried to start running again. And went for a run Friday morning, felt really good. Came home Friday and just got a sore throat that gradually got worse, and basically I ended up with tonsillitis, which meant I was out of running completely. I'd obviously got a race booked, so I was supposed to be doing Ranger Ultras, the PB 55. Should have been doing that on last Saturday, so ended up having to pull out of that. Thought it'd be unwise to try and run while ill. I probably could have got round, but probably would have made myself a lot worse. So obviously, getting a bit older now, and making the right decisions on some things in life. So there we are. Need to book a race. So if anyone can think of anything in the next couple of months that I should be diving into, then feel free to suggest them. What else is going on? Barclay has literally just happened, started this afternoon. The conch was blown. I think it was around 2 p.m., just after 2 p.m. our time, UK time. So obviously exciting times. We can be glued to the Twitter stream of Keith Dunn, and everybody else will be putting stuff on, obviously. So we'll know what's going on. So okay, Simon's come into the waiting room now, so I'll pause, and then with the magic of podcasting, we will be back instantly. There we go. By the magic of podcasting, whatever it is, technology, we are instantly back after the pause. So welcome to the Ultra Running Sam podcast, Simon Dix.
Thank you, Sam. Pleasure to be here, and pleasure to see you again.
Yeah,
we're both looking a bit fresher than last time.
Well, you were, yeah. I think I was fairly fresh when I saw. I did what time of day or night was it?
I think I came in at about 2 o'clock in the afternoon ish, somewhere around that sort of time.
Yeah, at the spine, it kind of everything. I mean, you know from doing it. I know from doing the race as well, and from being on the media team, that they don't feel much different. Actually, being on the media team doesn't feel much different to doing the race, because you just up as many hours as possible in the day without sleeping and just trying to focus on something that you can't focus on. And yeah. So 2 in the afternoon. In my head, I was thinking that you came in at about 4 o'clock in the morning or something.
No, I did. It was interesting because you have no idea like what time you're going to finish, and it wasn't until I was at the sort of penultimate stop before the end, which is Biraness, I think it is. And I remember one of the guys saying to me, "Look, you're gonna have an amazing day today. You're going to get up onto the Cheviots, and sunrise is going to happen, and you're going to finish at lunchtime." I just took that was, you're not lying to me, you're telling me the truth, so I'm going to take that, and that's
Yeah.
going to happen.
Oh, well, actually, if you came in at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, then you weren't that far off, really, then were you? Because 2 hours in the grand scheme of the spine is nothing, is it?
Exactly,
Yes.
exactly. So, some fond memories.
So obviously, my listeners, you know, obviously they know I bang on about the spine. I have done for years. But I don't want to just talk about the spine with you because there's so much we can dive into, isn't there? So if you've and if you've had a chance to listen to any of the podcasts before, but basically for a new person coming onto the show, I do the superhero question. So the superhero question is obviously we're all superheroes in one way or another, as ultra runners, in whatever role we take in ultra running. Um, all superheroes have an origin story. So Simon, what is your superhero ultra running origin story?
That's a great question, Sam. Really good. How long we got? Okay,
Well,
I'll
I've got as long as you need.
So I actually said in 2012, I hate running and I'm never going to run again. And that was after a road marathon where I only did it to impress my now wife. So she dragged me around this road marathon in Vienna. It was horrendous. Everything that you can do wrong, I did wrong. Everything I know now, I didn't do back then. And that was the end of it for me. I was done with running because it was just so horrendous. There was zero enjoyment out of that 3 and a bit hours that it took us to do it. It was truly awful. So you're probably now thinking, well, you've done the spine, so something must have happened. And what the something happened was that my mum got ill. She had a motor neuro disease. Me and my younger brother in 2016 thought, well, let's try and do something to raise some money for the charity. So we did a quick bit of Googling, looking for a hard race to do. And we came up with, or what popped up on Google is allegedly, and I put that in brackets because not all races are the hardest race in the world, but back then it was the Marathon des Sables.
Mm.
So we said, yeah, let's do that. We signed up for it. We just did some training, not a lot for it, Sam. And for me, when I was in that environment, light bulb moment. This is friggin' amazing. Like the extremeness of it, the desert, the heat, the fact you got to go to checkpoints, you got to look after yourself. It was like a battle of life and death. And I absolutely loved it. And essentially, that was really my first exposure into trail running, first exposure into multi-stage, first experience into ultra running as
Mm.
well. And from then, it really then my story then developed as the years went on. But I'll just pause there for a moment.
So a marathon. So I mean, you don't just sort of sign up for a marathon on a whim, though, do you? So was it just to impress the missus, or had you got some kind of? Did you have an inkling that you were going to end up as a runner?
Zero inkling. I'd always kept myself fit, so I was always in the gym doing some training. Most of the time back then it was doing weights to aesthetically look good, which is what you do when you're
Yeah,
younger.
remember doing it.
And I remember Jessica and Amy. She sent me an email with her registration to the marathon. I went online, bang! I sent her my application number back, so our numbers were four numbers different. And then I looked at the time to run a 3.5 hour marathon, and I think it was like 7:45 or 7:30 minute miles. And so I went out and I trained at that pace every single run. So we all know what happened if you do that. Does it go well?
It worked perfectly.
Exactly. So luckily, yeah, we're still married, so we got through that. She was on for a PB first half pace. Second half, she had to slow down, grab my hand, and literally drag me through it. So I had some general fitness. I'd always kept myself fit, and it probably really wasn't, Sam, until well, after the Marathon Sub, my good friend of mine who I met at the Marathon des Sables said, "Si, let's do the jungle ultra in Peru, the Amazon jungle. Whoa, man, that sounds exciting. So we came back and we looked at that, and we signed up to it pretty quickly, because it was almost like, wow, we've done the desert, seen what the desert is like. Now let's go to a new environment, somewhere in the other side of the world that you just cannot normally get to, and actually be in it. You know, not on a tour, not on a trip. Literally, you in a trail, in a lake, in a river, in the Amazon jungle. That was really appealing. So that was the next race.
So you did all right in that race, didn't you?
It was it
How
it
did it go?
Yes, I did all right in it, and for me, it was an amazing experience. And if anybody is curious about the Amazon jungle and wants to know more about it, I'll happily talk to anybody about it, because it was one of my favourite races ever
Mm.
done. The organisers Beyond the Ultimate are brilliant, and just the whole piece of getting you to the jungle, setting you off, and then you're there to experience, your adventure. And had a very good learning on day one. Unfortunately, my mate who I was running with was really poorly. We were stopping every couple of minutes at the start of day one, and in my mind, I was like, God, I really want to push on and run. Like, this is day one, I'm excited. But then the other part of me was like, you can't leave your mate. Come on site, stick together. So we stuck together for a good half hour or so. And at the point of where I then said to Dan, his name was Dan, I'm going to get on to the next checkpoint, because I need to let people know you're not in a good place. And are you okay if we split? And he was totally fine with it, absolutely happy with it. And the lesson was, if you're going to run with somebody, have an agreement beforehand. If you need to split, it's okay to split, subject to safety, of course. So that was day one. That was Sam, and off I went, just sort of doing my little thing, saying hello to everybody, talking to everybody, smiling. Everybody knows me for being a very smiley, happy runner. And got into base after the first day. Um, Very, very, very nervous and anxious to find out what happened with Dan. And unfortunately, he got pulled out of the race because he was really unwell at checkpoint one. So the medics looked after him, which was great. But at that point, I was then in this world all by myself, obviously with other runners, but thought, I'm just going to experience each day, get through it, and see what happens. And as each day went by, I was getting, you could say, more confident in the jungle. I was getting more used to the just what the terrain was like, but also starting to learn a little bit about, what can I do? Like, am I fast? Do I run uphill? Do I run downhill? And it really wasn't until day four, when I was just doing my thing, just moving through the hills, which is, day four was a very hilly day, and I got myself into second place. And as soon as the guy who was ever in third said to me, "Dicksy, you're in second," something went off in my brain, which was, I've never finished a race this high. I'm not going to lose this now. So what happened? My brain at that moment, and I'll always remember it, went from race to complete to race to compete. And that was really the light bulb moment that kind of sort of changed in me. Finished second on day two, to a video where I'm swearing a lot, because I am just so happy that I've got to the end and I haven't lost the place. And it was a magical moment, and it was a real magical moment, because it just set off that light bulb. And then, from that point on, I took running differently. I wanted to see what I was capable of. I'd unearthed this passion for trail, passion for adventure, and have a big heart and a big belief. Let's see what we can do. So the superhero story then goes, right. What can I do next? We've done sand, jungle, ice. Let's have a look at the ice ultra. Um, so you can see a bit of a theme here now, can't you, Sam? So I signed up to the ice ultra in 2020, and prior to that, I was then looking at, right, how can I become a better runner? Like, I've got a fitness that's enabled me to perform okay in the jungle. I really now want to see what I can do. So I learned how to adapt my body for ultra running. So getting fitter specifically for ultra running, which was really, really interesting because I was just thinking I've got to run fast. Well, we all know that's not the case. And also then importantly, how to run. From a technique perspective, being efficient or inefficient has a significant impact on the energy used whilst you're moving. So if you can use less energy to run, you've got more energy to run in the right way, which therefore makes you faster. So from 2018 to 2020, I really worked on my fitness and worked on my technique. And then we went to the Ice Ultra, which was an amazing experience again.
Was that before lockdown then? Was that before COVID?
Just before
Before.
COVID.
Mm.
So I'd always remember this for being really weird. One minute we're in an amazing environment with just beautiful scenery, just stunning. Next minute, lockdown. Talk about depression. Wow. So that was literally, yeah, I think March 2020. We got back from the Ice Ultra. But that was my first race that I went into thinking competitively,
Mm.
thinking, do you know what, I want to have a go at this, but actually being competitive isn't everything to me. Yes, I want to do well, but fundamentally, I absolutely love it, absolutely enjoy it, and yeah, just love being in that type of environment.
Mm. Yeah, it's something that I've sort of noted from other people that know you, that you've got this like infectious energy, haven't you, for ultra running? You just seem to be like a you seem to be like a beacon of joy and loving running so much that you sort of make everybody around you enjoy it more as well.
Yeah, I look, yes, I do, and I absolutely run with a smile, and I do 100% believe like these races that we do are incredibly difficult, and mentally, if we can just smile and we can be happy and we can just enjoy being in that moment, just whatever's going on. We'll get onto the spine, but there were some moments that were even testing my happiness. I'll be honest. It's just brilliant. And whether you're racing to compete or you're racing to complete, everybody has done fantastically well to get through that day. Everybody's got their own story. Everybody's interesting to talk to. Like, why are you here? What is your goal? What are you looking to achieve? Are you doing it for charity? Is it a personal thing? So just talking to people and making people feel just happy is absolutely in my DNA. And I'm always doing it. I'm on the trails. It's talking to people as I'm moving.
Mm. Yeah, I think that's one of the things about ultras, isn't it? That if you're a sort of, like a 10K or something, people don't really have such a big why, do they, necessarily, for doing a race like that, unless they're like fundraising for a charity or something. Your average sort of person doing like a half marathon or something like that, or, even up to a marathon, might be just doing it just to sort of tick it off. Whereas with an ultra, you know, some of us have got checkered pasts, haven't we? And we're probably maybe we're running away from something. So it tends to be ultra runners that have probably got, which is why, that's the reason why I always ask the superhero question, because you often find that, an ultra runner, if they've been doing it for long enough, there's a good reason why they don't just do one race and then sort of hang your shoes up. You end up going back for more. Is there something that you sort of is that something that you sort of relate to yourself, that you felt like this was a call in for you?
100%, Sam. And I'm always honest whenever I'm having conversations with people. Running and specifically, ultra running and being out and testing yourself, without doubt, is my therapy. It makes me feel just so content, so happy, so easy, and just like it makes me feel like I'm doing the one thing that I truly love outside of my wife, who is my one true love. The running is the thing that I am just in my element for, like pure enjoyment. And if I don't run, then that's when, yeah, I won't lie, I'm more miserable, I'm frustrated, I'm annoyed, I'm a bit more moody. Like my wife will just say, "Oh, your personality is so different when you can't run." And do you know what? She's right, because I'm not getting that fix of being out, and especially, people can probably allude to this, when you see the sun out, blue sky, beautiful crisp morning, and you can't go for a run because you've got a little niggle. Arrgh. Yeah, yeah, you get the rage, but of course we have to also bear in mind that what we do from an ultra running perspective, it is a lot of wear and tear on our bodies, and I've been guilty of it. I've not given myself enough rest. So you just got to sit back and reflect, and it's not the end of the world, despite it feeling like the end of the world.
Yeah. Yeah, we were chatting about this, weren't we, before I hit record, that I was sort of, you know, whinging about the fact that I've not ran for, I think it was like 10 days of no running. And I used to get, like you say, I do get grumpy, and I'm aware that I'm grumpy, but probably not as much as I used to in my younger years, where I'd sort of, it'd get to like, don't know if you're the same. You could probably go like 2 or 3 days of no running, and then you like your wife is like, can you just please go for a run? Just just get out of the house, please. Please go for a run.
Yeah, I would say, Sam, I'm probably a bit worse than that, where I'm like a day or two, um, because in my head I am like, I still don't believe I have pushed myself to my limit of what can I achieve. So how far can I run and how fast can I run it? So my brain tells me, because you've not found that yet, the more training you do, the more of that we're going to find. So not training, my brain's telling me, well, then you're losing fitness. You're not getting, you're unsharpening yourself. But then my
Mm.
coaching brain tells me, well, not training is also good because it's a rest. Therefore,
Yeah.
you're getting a rest. You're allowing your body to rejuvenate. So I've got these multiple monkeys on my neck, on my shoulders, constantly arguing with each other,
Yeah.
and I'm in the middle here trying to figure it out and trying to.
Yes, when you're a coach, it's easy to sort of dish out the advice, isn't it? But not always easy to take it yourself. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. And I had an interesting moment up in the Brecon Beacons this weekend, where um, I got to a beautiful downhill, and I've got a bit of a niggly knee at the moment, and every part of my body wanted to run down that hill. And I actually literally had to tell myself, don't do it for these reasons. And the next second, it was like, yeah, but you're going to really enjoy it. It's going to be fantastic. You love downhill. And I love downhill running. It's one of my favorite parts to trail running is, once you get up and you've got that down and you just float down. And I often refer to it as, we're just dancing through the trails. We're just dancing. That's a lovely, lovely feeling when we get there. So I was disciplined this weekend. I behaved myself.
Well done. Just sort of going back to the ice ultra then. So you actually you won that race, didn't you?
Yes, I did win that race. I did, yes. As you can tell from my answer there, I'm quite modest. I don't like I don't often like talking about these things. But yes, I won it, and it was brilliant. It was brilliant for the reason of, it just showed me, like, okay, you've done the training, and look at the reaction, was in look at the impact of your training,
Mm.
which was really important, because
Was that your first ultra? Is that your first ultra that you won?
it was, yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. First one. Didn't sink in for a little while. It was all a little bit bizarre. Um, and I'll always remember back then, because I was surprised to win, and actually it was probably one of the easiest multi-stages that I've done, compared to the jungle and the ice. So actually, from an effort level perspective, I just really enjoyed it, and was just in my aerobic zone, and
Mm.
just ticking along, and that enabled me to get some good times. Although I do remember one of the days, which was an absolute blast. It was marathon day on the lakes, and a couple of lads in our cabin were, one guy said he was like 100-mile marathon speed demon, and another couple of guys said they had super quick marathon times. And the only marathon time I can remember is that one in Vienna, which I was terrible. So I'm there, sat in like in the little cabins before the start, thinking, God, all right, these guys are going to be after me today, because stage one and stage two I won. Stage three, thought, yeah, they're going to be after me. I've got probably 45 minutes, right? Okay, trying to figure out all these numbers that are going on in your head. So as soon as the guys were like, 3, 2, 1, go, bang, that was proper competing, probably on the edge of aerobic, because it was just like, oh, I don't know what's going to happen today. you could look behind you, but you couldn't see who was behind you because you're all masked up and what have you, and
Mm.
you couldn't really see what the distance was. So it's really hard to work out. Like I'm running here, have I got a 5 minute lead, 10 minute lead, or whatever? So it's just a matter of right, let's go. Arms going, head going. Come on, legs. And the last little checkpoint or last little bit of that day, you go off the main course, then through like snow which hasn't been compacted down. So you're like, I don't know, it feels like a foot or 2 foot of snow. So you're
Post
like
time.
big feet trying to get in. And I just clapped on the floor like, oh my God, thank God that day's over. That was a hard day. But great fun. Really, really good fun.
I want to get your opinion on this. And how did you feel after you won? Because like you say, you sort of got that sort of competitive edge to you that you realized that after those first races where you were doing well in a race, you kind of thought, I like this. So how did you feel actually once you'd actually won a race? Did you sort of build it up into this big thing that, life will be complete when I win an ultra? And then there was sort of realizing afterwards that it's not about that. What was your experience of that?
So my experience was very much um, proving to myself that I could do it. So that was what it was for me. And I would say that's all the races that I do is about, right, proving to myself, can I do it? Yes, I can. Brilliant. The result on top is, it really is in my world, just the icing on the cake. Is that's the nice to have, and just finishing the race, and whatever that race is really is what I like. It's the right. My aging body is allowing me to do these big races. Right, tick. Thank you very much. Right, great. What can I do differently next time to do things better, etc. So for me, yeah, it's not about shouting about yes, I came first. It's all about right. That's great, but even better for me personally, inside of me, I've achieved that, and my training's achieved that
Mm.
result.
Yeah, yeah, it's interesting. I've asked that question to a few people that have sort of won ultras. Because for me, I mean, it's been years since I won an ultra. Way back when there has been times. But I sort of when I first started ultra running, and I realised that I was, at the time I was okay and pretty quick in local races, and I sort of built this thing up that once I won an ultra, it was going to be like my life would be complete and everything would be like good in the world. And then that day, like, came eventually, and I won a race, and I realised that I didn't feel any different towards ultra running at all. It was just like, oh yeah, I've won. That's great. Um, where's the next race? And it's just, and I think for me, it was a good thing that it kind of taught me that there's no point in chasing stuff like that all the time. Winning obviously is great, and doing well in a race is great, but it's not the be all and end all. If you love ultra running, it's about the training, isn't it? It's about preparing for a race and getting to that point, isn't it?
Exactly. And it's why do you do what you do, right? Why do I do what I do? Because I friggin' love it. Number one, that is the absolute reason why I do it, because I enjoy it. If I don't enjoy something, why am I going to bother doing it? So
Mm.
I enjoy doing it, and I have zero pressure on myself to perform and get a result. However, actually I do have pressure on myself, but that's pressure I put on me to
Mm.
actually have a good race. So I'm not going out and thinking, right, I want a podium, I want to finish top 10, top one. I really want to go, right, I'm here for enjoyment, and then let's go. Because, and I saw this at a race across Scotland last year, is if you're a sponsored athlete, I think you've got a higher chance of pulling out because of the pressure
Mm.
that you've got on yourself from a sponsorship perspective. Um, so not having that pressure means you just do it for fun and enjoyment, which in my mind is the most important thing, of doing it. I'm not there to win it. I'm there to enjoy.
Yeah, yeah, that's a great way to look at it, isn't it? If you and obviously like if you look at it in that way, then you are going to stay in the sport for longer, aren't you, if you're there for the right reasons rather than just success. But
Exactly.
I mean, I know you're a humble guy, but it's actually really handy that on your Instagram you have actually listed all these races that you've done. and that's how I know that you that's how I know that you won the Ice Ultra, and I know that you came third at Race Across Scotland last year. Um, I mean, it is important enough to you to be able to list it on there and be proud of that, and that's okay, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure, Sam. And after the Ice Ultra, I'd actually been made redundant. And there is a reason why I'm segueing. I'll come back to that.
Yeah.
After the Ice Ultra, I'd been made redundant from my corporate job. So a lot of my friends and contacts in the community said, "Well, look, Si, you're so positive and good with people. You've learned how to run. You've adapted your body. You've won the Ice Ultra. Why don't you set up your own coaching business?" And so I mulled that over for a couple of weeks, and then absolutely did. So I set up a coaching business, specifically on running technique and endurance, because the two go together in my mind. And over the years, with the races that I've done, actually having it on your Instagram and having it on your website shows to people, if they're interested in getting
Yeah.
coaching from you, who are you? What have you done? What is your story? And I super enjoy telling people I went from that person who hated running to now going to loving running. And so that's my journey. I've been through it, and I 100% believe that anybody with the right mindset and the right training can achieve anything. And just going back to, I remember my first 50, Sam, and I was like, oh my God, this is going to be horrendous. 50 miles, double marathon. It's in Wales. It's through the Brecon Beacons. Anxiety, nerves, all of that type of things. And it was a bit of a dark day, actually. I'll just tell you a little bit about this story. But first 50 miler, family were there to support me. Checkpoint one, no family. Okay, they may have got less on the trails. Checkpoint two, no family. Oh, okay. Maybe they're having breakfast. Checkpoint three. What do you reckon, Sam?
I'm going to say no family.
No family, right? Exactly. So I was expecting to see them at all these checkpoints. Didn't see them all day whatsoever. Finished the race at about 1 o'clock in the morning, and there they are. Brilliant. You've made it to the end. So clearly there's a story here and there's a reason there. And what had unfortunately happened right at the very start, one of our dogs had jumped over a cattle grid, fine, jumped back over the cattle grid, got his leg caught, ripped his leg open. So
Oh,
they were in a vet in Wales all day whilst I was running in the beacons. So so very, very quickly, obviously all concern went to the dog then, not the fact that obviously he'd done the 50 miles, he got through it.
yeah.
But the point to that story is knowing that you can go through this comfort circle of I'm comfortable with marathon, then I'll push it to 50 miles, then it's 100 miles. That comfort circle can just get bigger and bigger and bigger. And at that point, anybody can achieve anything. And so that's what I like helping people with, is them believing what they want to do, they can do, and actually it's super possible. So I give people a warning, Sam, if we talk and meet, because I tell them I will get you doing anything. So just be cautious. I've given you the warning, so it's all good.
So talk in more detail then about, because I know that you've recently, is it recently you've gone full time with this? Is that what I'm?
That's right.
Is that
Yes.
right? Hmm.
Yeah, gone full time with it because yeah, it's such a passion helping people. And um what can I say? Helping people get results and helping people just be happy and achieving what they want to do is just, there's no better feeling.
Hmm.
There's no better feeling. And like one of the guys the other day said to me, he was always running in his red zone, and he said to me, I'm doing his plan for him, Sam, and he said, I don't think I can run slow. Okay, well, you're paying me to give you a plan. If you're not going to run slow, then I'm going to give you your money back, because you're not doing what I'm saying. And then what he said was, well, you've done the spine race, so you must know what you're talking about. So it's interesting as you go on with your coaching, like, people know you, they research you, and they see in you what you've achieved, and they want to be part of that journey as well. And I like helping people do that.
Hmm.
And my favorite customers to help, Sam, are little kids. So that the youngest kid I've helped was about a 6 or 7 year old, and his running technique was all arms and all legs. And then when we changed that up, it was just poetry. He looked really good.
Hmm. So talk a bit about the sort of running technique side of it. Because not all coaches are interested in that, are they? It's something that, you've got your coach that will, give you a plan, that maybe give you strength and conditioning stuff, maybe t sort of touch on, bits of nutrition and stuff. But running technique, um, that's quite a specific thing, isn't it? So what sort of, how did you sort of get into that side of coaching then?
Sure, no, great, yeah, great question, Sam. And essentially, how I got into it was myself changing my technique and seeing the impact of it made me see that to become a better runner, it's not just about one thing, i.e., it's not just about being fitter or being stronger or getting nutrition right. So there's multiple different pillars that can help you become a better runner. And so my own journey had seen that by changing technique, that had a real positive impact on a number of things. So preventing injury, running more efficiently, and then ultimately being able to run faster. So from a coaching perspective, if I were to set somebody 15 times 1 minute intervals at threshold, and I don't know if they're running efficiently, well, actually, there's a higher risk that they can get injured if they're running in an inefficient way. And also, they're not getting the most training effect out of that session because their body's working harder to just run. So, really, my methodology, and when I talk to potential clients, is first of all, let me understand how you move. So, let's do a video technique assessment. All of us have unconscious incompetencies, which is basically we don't even know what our body's doing, but actually, are they competent or incompetent for us? And if we think back to like school or anything, we learned to play cricket, we learned to play golf, we learned to play rugby, and every other sport. What's the one sport that we all do that we did not get taught to do?
Yeah, running, yeah.
Running. Exactly. So the technique assessment allows me to identify things like where is the foot landing in regards to the center of gravity? So is it landing significantly in front? Therefore, it's creating an overstride. Therefore, with that overstride, is the upper body compensating? And there's significant weight coming into the body, and the braking force is happening. So if you think about it, if you land your leg in front of your center of gravity, your middle, that leg being out in front, you're actually braking every time your foot hits the floor. You won't feel it, but you are. There's a lot of debate out there about whether runners should be heel toe or midfoot.
Mm.
Actually, heel toe or midfoot are both fine, but midfoot is more efficient. Why is midfoot more efficient? Because you haven't got the heel hitting the ground first. You then don't have the foot slapping down on the ground too, and then you toe off. Versus midfoot, you're straight down onto the ground and you go off. So you can reduce your ground contact time. Reduce ground contact time, you're a bit faster because you can get more strides in. So the video assessment really allows us to identify, right, what part of your body do we need to work on? And then we work on coaching cues, which make the incompetencies we've identified change. So, for example, we could say, right, Sam, we've identified that your leg cycle, so what you're doing with your legs isn't efficient for you. You're landing significantly in front with a heel toe landing, and you're not using your glutes and your hamstrings to run. So, you've got so much more potential, but we're not activating it yet. We're not using it. So, this is what you need to do. Now, that then becomes for you a conscious awareness of what you need to do to create a change. The body will then feel a couple of things. In the first instance, it will find it quite hard because we're changing a movement pattern that you've had for years. But secondly, over time, it should feel, this is easier. And when the brain gets something which is easier, I want more of it. I want more of it. And so that's how you start to change movement. And a few of the things which I don't know many coaches that talk about is something called dynamic movement skills. And essentially, that's a reaction time of when your brain is sending messages to your feet are doing a movement, and the message is getting back up to your brain to say you've done it. If you're trained in this methodology, then you have a very quick nervous system. You ask your feet to do it, they do it quickly, and you have high repetitions. If you haven't trained your nervous system, then you're stuck in the mud, you're slow and you're heavy. So especially for trail runners, being able to be dynamic, be fast, and have a quick reaction time enables us to be better in the trails, because you hit a rock, you hit a tree stump, whatever. Trails aren't flat like they are on the roads, so our body has to be agile. So yeah, technique assessment really is the foundation to molding a runner into being ready then to do a training plan. Because when you do a training plan, if you're running efficiently, you're then getting a better training effect out of it, and therefore your time is being spent wisely. And then we start to adapt the body for the chosen goal. So it's great. It's brilliant. I love the before and after videos, because you can just see the impact that it's made.
Yeah, it's really interesting that. I know I've sort of seen videos on social media, not that that's the place to go for advice. That sort of it showed like videos of like Kenyan runners and showing them like from side profile and how they all landed in different ways, and some were like 4 foot and some were mid and some were even like almost heel striking. And the point that he was trying to make was that he was saying that it doesn't, when you've got the fastest nation in the world, supposedly, we won't go into the drug side of things in Africa. But when you've got people that are that fast as a nation and they're running in all different ways, how do you sort of quantify? Is it about finding the right sort of stride and foot strike for you personally, or is there something that is going to be applicable to everybody that you roll out, sort of thing?
Yeah, great question, Sam. So it's about making any runner I work with, about making them the best runner that I can make them. Yes, there is a methodology to why we should train our arms or use our arms in a certain way, why we should use our leg lift in a certain way, and why we should land in a certain way. But actually, that doesn't work for everybody. So if it doesn't, it's not like, oh my God, I can't do it. Do you know what? That's you, and we have to change what we can about you, which then works for you. So it's very individual. Absolutely, because as we know in the world, there's no right and there's no wrong. It's just different people's opinions, and ultimately, what feels right to the athlete, to the runner, is what is right.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, fair enough. Yeah. Um, so what are you sort of doing then? Are you sort of rolling out this sort of training? How do people sort of find you to sort of get hold of you for this kind of training then? Is this just literally just find you on your website and on social media and stuff?
I guess it is. Yeah, I have been terrible at social media, Sam. So I'm just starting to pick this up. Something called TikTok. I've been asked to get on, so I've done that. One video of a high rocks athlete has got 20,000 views in a couple of days. I'm like, I can't understand that. Who is watching this video?
Everybody
um,
does. Did you know that High Rocks, what that actually stands for? I didn't
no
know that
idea. Tell
before.
me.
Hybrid rock star. I was thinking it was something to do, something technical to do with, you know,
Yeah, right.
kind of
Interesting.
hybrid rock
Interesting.
star. And I'm like, oh, okay, that kind of sort of deflates it a little bit for me.
Yeah, doesn't
Thought it was
it?
some special thing to do with training and stuff. And yeah, yeah. Everyone's a hybrid athlete, aren't they? That if you're biking, running, going to the gym, everyone's hybrid, aren't they?
Exactly. And do you know what the argument is? You need to be, for running. If we don't do strength training, we're going to be in trouble. We have to do strength. So therefore, we are hybrid. But yeah, people can find me on Google, Instagram, Facebook, usual sort of ways.
Yeah, awesome. Right, let's talk about the spine.
Oh,
My
it's fine.
favorite subject. So how did you I mean obviously you were sort of given those what would you call it by doing the sort of beyond the ultimate um the races, that's like a gateway drug, you would say, into the spine because
Yeah,
of the connection there and the similar environments and everything. So what sort of made you decide that you were going to sign up for Britain's most brutal race?
I should have been expecting that question to come and have a good answer prepared. So I've got no answers prepared. So I'll go with exactly how this happened. So a couple of things happened. I did my first 100 miler in 2023. Did it terribly wrong. I got far too excited on the start line, ran super fast at the start, and then was just basically being carried at the end. But When I finished, it was very interesting for the reason of every muscle in my lower body wanted to stop at least at mile 50. So for 50 miles, I battled through, and mentally I was like, there is no way on this earth that I am not finishing this race. Like I'm too vested into it to be able to just stop. So when I finished and I sat there, I felt fine. Like mentally, I felt absolutely fine, but physically, I was just destroyed. So after that, I was like, do you know what? I'm going to sign up to a 200 miler. Um, don't know which one. And me and my wife went on holiday. I downloaded a couple of YouTube videos, and the one I watched was one of the spine races with Damien Hall and the other. And I was watching it, and I absolutely got pins and needles all over my body. The excitement level was out of this world. I was like, Jess, I have to do this race. Like it is me without a shadow of doubt. Every part of that is me. So then I just obviously researched the spine race, the incredibly competitive nature of trying to get into it. So yeah, I've got multiple different screens set up, and I actually had to stop a meeting at the time to say, guys, I'm sorry, I've got something really important I need to do, and this is get into the spine race. So why did I sign up to it? Because I got pins and needles when watching a video, and I had to do the race.
Fair enough. And did it sort of did it live up to your expectations of, when you see those, most videos about the spine, sort of not that it glamorizes it, but it makes it so appealing, doesn't it, when you watch those videos of people trudging through the snow and like battling against wind and
Mm.
rain and stuff. And if you've got that in you, like, me and you have, it it's a trigger into it for you that you just think there's no way that you, as an ultra runner, you've got to do it at some point, haven't you? And I think it was always, when for me, it was always, I knew that the spine was my destiny at some point.
Love
But
it.
at what point it would come, I didn't know. Yeah, and then you kind of get like just drawn into it, don't you? And once I've said this to people before that, once you get bitten by the spine bug, then it's pretty hard to shake off, isn't
It absolutely is, and yeah, I think the most common question that I have had was, "Are you going back?" And the answer is yes,
it?
without a shadow of a doubt. Not next year, but hopefully the year after. But your original question, Sam, was it everything that I'd hoped it to be? Absolutely, and more. I mean, I was on the start line, surrounded by like well experienced athletes,
Legends, yeah.
legends, John Kelly, Kim, Eugenie. I was just like, bloody hell. Well, I'm at the front here, just gonna, for my moment of just running through this next 50 meters, I want to keep up. And so off we set, and then they took off,
We're gone,
um,
yeah.
as you'd expect. And it was just an incredible journey from the minute we set off to the minute finishing. So many highlights, couple of sort of low lights, when things got really tough. But the people were amazing. The volunteers were amazing. Big shout out to the Alston Lasagna crew. Amazing. Thank you,
How
ladies,
many
for
how many did you have? How many plates of lasagna?
at least 4 or 5 before bed, and then after, well, yeah, before bed and after bed.
I think
um,
the record isn't the record like 8 or 9 servings of lasagna. I think possibly. I think that's what the record is.
Something like that in one sitting. Yeah. That it's a great race because for me, the spine race was, I want to find out, yes, can I do this? But I want to find out, back to my other point, what can I do? What can I achieve? What can I do? So it was very much a learning race of course, pacing. You can't, I'm not going to run super fast because I'm not going to blow out, and I don't know what's going to happen in 50 miles, let alone 150 miles. So respect to the guys who really do push that button, and they're on the threshold. Um, how much sleep do I need? Do I need 30-minute power naps? Do I need 3-hour blocks? These are all the questions that I had beforehand because I had no experience of doing something like this, which I've now got the answers to, which is why I'll be going back because I now know exactly what my body needs. But I'd say that the other competitors, just a fantastic race. And if anybody's curious about doing it, absolutely sign up. Don't not do it, um, because it is an incredible experience. And yeah, I've got a highlight, which if you want me to go through the highlight now, Sam, I can, or we can wait for another point. But I've got one
No, go
huge
for it.
highlight.
Tell me your highlight.
Guys, so the highlight, and this was the most, I would put this down to as the most amazing 6 hours maybe of running that I have ever done in my life. So I was at Beer&S, had the potatoes, mince, and gravy, a couple of cups of coffee, and that guy who said to me at the start, "Look, you can be up on the Cheviot, you can have sunrise, etc." He said that to me, and I thought, "Yeah, this is going to be great." So off I set, and I was by myself at this point, and I had my phone on me so I could see sort of people on the tracker, and I thought, okay, there's a couple of runners in front of me in the spine race. Let's compete. Let's see if we can get them now because we're at the end of the spine. So I got up onto the Cheviots and I started to run, and my legs were light like they had never been before. So I was running the uphills, the downhills, the flats, but I wasn't asking my body to run. It was just doing it. It was super weird. Um, and I got to hut one. I actually said to the medic, like, I'm not sure what's going on. It's a bit weird, but I'm running fast and it's easy. Should I be worried? They didn't really have an answer either, other than, you've just been doing this for a long time, i.e. the spine brace. Your body's just doing things. And I thought, okay, right, they've told me I'm okay. Let me drop a voice note to a mate. And so I dropped a voice note in to Damien Hall and said, Damo, what's going on, mate? Because this is frigging incredible. And he came back and said, "Look, this is unconscious flow state. Your body is now in control of you." And I was like, "Wow!" And it was incredible, Sam, because I got up behind a runner in the spine on a hill. He looked over his shoulder. He saw me come in. He dropped some food. I just did my thing because I was just in an amazing feeling. I just got past him. I looked back and he was about a mile away. So great, I've got up one more position. Check the map. There's another one to go. Come on, Dixie, you can do it. And I was generally just flying. And then when I checked the data for the results afterwards, I ran that last section from Beer&S to home, second quickest, only to Kim.
Wow.
I know, it was
That's amazing.
insane. So I've not had that feeling since coming back from running. So I don't know where it is, but I maybe need to do spine again to find it.
Imagine if you could have that feeling all the way through the spine.
mate, mate, it was incredible. But that is probably, it is the most amazing part of running I've had. But the experience that pulls me into ultra running because I've never had that before. We as humans, we don't know what we can achieve other than that. Actually, we can achieve a lot more than what we think we can. So when you start to push your body and you test yourself and you go through these extremes and your brain almost has to switch off from protecting you to going, you're doing it anyway. Look what happens. And so that's the curiosity I've got is our brains will always try and protect us. Fact. Ultra running, we push that back a little bit and we try and control our brain. However, the brain will still try and come back at us. So we have that argument, do I sleep? Do I stop? Have I got pain? All these things are going off. But if you can push through and get through, and whatever that distance time is, who knows what happens? And that what happens for me was that unconscious sort of flow state. And yeah, it was magical.
Amazing. Am I right in thinking you're coached by Damien Hall?
Yes, yes,
Yeah,
that's right.
thought
Yeah,
so.
absolutely. Yeah.
What was it? What was it? Obviously, he's a spine veteran then. So how did he sort of help you? What did he help you with in preparation for that then? Because obviously, I know you've talked about the fact that you don't really know until you do it, do you really, how it's going to feel and the stuff you're going to come up against and the kind of things that you can't prepare yourself for, like having going like a couple of nights without sleep and stuff, can you, without doing that in a race? So how did he sort of help you sort of prepare? Did he sort of give you any sort of like quick um quick stuff to sort of learn that you didn't have to sort of figure out yourself?
I would say on the sleep front, it was very much like, is it a 30-minute power nap or is it a 3-hour bank nap that you need? So I had curiosity on actually what does my body need, um, and I know I can get through night one no problem. Night two, I thought I'd try and get 3 hours at Hawes. I laid in the bed, didn't sleep, just wasted significant time. So that was a good lesson for next time, is that I can get through night two to a certain extent, but we'll need a 30-minute power nap, not a 3 hour one. So having insight like that into how long should I sleep, how long should I set my alarm for, was really valuable, because otherwise you go in a little bit blind. You don't know. You don't want to sleep 8 hours. But yeah, you might need to sleep for 8 hours. So who knows? And I'd say that's the sleep is probably the most interesting one, because how much sleep do you need? When when should you take it?
Mm.
Um, and should you get up when your alarm clock goes off but you're feeling tired?
Mm.
Right? That's the unknown. So, and that's the answer is different for everybody.
Yeah,
There's no right or wrong. It's
yeah.
what is ever right for you is what's right for you.
And it changes with races as well, because I know that I did full winter January 24, so last year. So in preparation for that, I did um Challenger North in the in the summer of 23. Um and I my sleep's like strategy for that worked like perfection. You know,
Great.
kind of. I knew that I could go through the first night. That was fine. Like you say, that's kind of like a given into it that you would always go through the first night. Got to the second night and slept. I think I had like a block. I gave myself a block of about 4 hours, and I didn't sleep for that long. I think it was probably like maybe 2 hours, something, 2 and a bit hours. Um, but I felt absolutely right as rain. Woke up,
Mm.
put a bit of new kit on and stuff, and went out the door, and it literally felt like a new race to me. I couldn't believe
Yes.
that at only like 2 hours, 2.5 hours sleep, and I felt like a new man. And I was thinking, this is great. That's absolutely amazing. Then went through the next night again, and then so that following morning was sort of coming to between the huts, and had to have a sleep there. I literally like lay down against the fence and fell asleep for like half an hour, and then felt okay and finished. And I thought that's great. I figured out now that I can go through a full night. I can get to the second night. I can have 2 hours sleep. I can go through another night and then have a power nap.
Brilliant.
And I'll apply that to the full spine. And it didn't work. It didn't
Oh no.
and that's something I realised from going from Challenger North in the summer to go into the full winter, that what works in one race doesn't necessarily work in another race.
Right,
It's a
right.
different time of year, or if it's sometimes your body just reacts in a different way. And like when I interviewed Kim after the spine, he'd gone into that specifically, was going to try and bank sleep at Hawes, and go against the grain of what everyone else has done. So all the fast guys have obviously just gone straight through Hawes and just carried on. Um, but he was like, no, I'm going to make sure that I stop and sleep. And I actually saw him there. I'd got a camera, and I filmed him, and I said, "How's the plan going?" And he said, "Yeah, yeah, it's going to plan. I'm going to have the sleep now for like 2 hours or whatever it was, or an hour and a half."
Hmm.
And afterwards, talking to him, he says that it didn't work. I just like literally just lay there for like half an hour and just thought, may as well get up, carry on.
Right, right, exactly. And I think
Yeah.
that's an interesting point, is that we can all have these plans of what we're going to do. And actually, we need to be able to pivot in the moment. We've got to be able to pivot and see what we need to do. That might be to have sleep or not to have sleep. One of my biggest learnings, Sam, was to not have a drop bag full of absolute stuff. So big lesson. I had everything in the kitchen sink in there, and I couldn't find the things that I needed. And in
Yeah.
the end, I gave up being frustrated. So that was
It
one of the
starts
big
off so
lessons.
neat, doesn't it? Like you have everything in little bags or in little boxes,
Exactly.
and then by like the third checkpoint, it's just literally just like obliterated, isn't it?
It is. It is. It's just annoying. And the one thing that I was really set on was, I'm not going to take my sleeping bag and all that jazz out of my rucksack. I've got a spare sleeping bag in my drop bag, which I'm then going to use for when I'm at the checkpoints and
Mm.
sleeping. I didn't use that spare sleeping bag once. and I didn't find my eye mask and earplugs because it was with my sleeping this bag, the drop bag sleeping bag. So I have learned to absolutely don't complicate that drop bag. It's got to be simple.
Yeah.
So lots of lessons.
Yeah. And it's amazing, how you can like like faffing in checkpoints is like a very real thing, isn't it? And that is the major learning that I took from the winter was I realized I faff too much and spend too long in checkpoints when there's no need to be in a checkpoint for like 6 hours. It's ridiculous. Why would you? It's just ridiculous.
Yeah,
Um,
it's
but like
warm and cozy.
you can stand and look at your bag, can't you? You look at your bag and you just like, I don't know. I know I'm supposed to be looking for something, but I don't know what it is. I'm just staring at my bag.
Yeah. I had a few of those moments at Bellingham, which is an absolute
Yeah,
car crash of a checkpoint.
it is, yeah.
Um,
Cold as well.
it's horrendous. It's so small, so noisy, so many different people, and you're just like, well, I've got to try and get my head straight here. What do I need? Trainers, right? Okay, there. Real simple stuff because you're at the back end of the race then, and it's hard to focus. But yeah, it's all part of the adventure. And,
It is, yeah. I mean, I wouldn't say that you're at the back end of the race. You came in respectively, didn't you? Respectful 13th place, didn't you?
oh, sorry, I meant the back end of the distance of the race.
Oh,
That's what
okay,
I
yeah,
meant.
got you.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it was it. It was good.
Pleased with it. So, when you go back, are you sort of thinking, you're going to work on specific things and you're going to do it slightly differently? And are you sort of hoping to push yourself up towards podiums and in the top
Oh,
10 and top five?
I definitely. Well, look, anything can happen in these races, as we know. So
Yeah.
anything can happen. For me, moving up into the top 10 would feel great. Um, I'm looking now to test pretty much the 30-minute sleep window and just see how many of those do I need.
Mm.
Because I finished the spine so strong, my brain was just like, could you have pushed earlier?
Mm.
And if I could have pushed earlier,
Mm.
how earlier and how fast could it have been? So these are the questions that I don't have the answers for, which I need to almost investigate and find out for the next spine.
Mm.
Curiosity.
Yeah, it's interesting. When you were talking about that sort of moment going over the Cheviots of sort of being in flow state, I had a moment like that, but it was much well, I say much early. It was going along Hadrian's Wall, which is like the bit where you wouldn't think that anyone would like have a flow state moment going
Yeah.
down, up and down, up and down, up and down.
Right.
But that was for me, that was like a really strong point. But I think actually that was because I'd spent quite a bit of time at Greenhead because I was being held there by the medics because of the fall that I had.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Hmm.
that was probably why I was like all jazzed up and ready to go after being held for 8 hours.
Oh, crumbs. Yeah. You're like a cage bunny ready to go. Come on, let me
Yeah,
out. Let's
yeah.
go. Want to
That was like
finish.
that was like a new race. Yeah, so that explains that actually. Yeah.
Yeah, indeed. And I think one of the other learnings for me was after Greg's Hut started hallucinating, and I was seeing things like the Marshmallow Man from Ghostbusters because it was
Yeah.
so snowy and everything was just moving around. I remember seeing sort of boats and helicopters. I'm like, whoa, what is going on? Um,
Do you enjoy hallucinations? Because I do. I really enjoy them.
um, I would say. I don't enjoy them, but I don't not enjoy them. I'm like, okay, I'm starting to get sleep deprived now.
Yeah.
And so I was with another runner, Chris, at the time, and we decided to partner up through that night, which was a really wise move for us because it just helped getting through that together. So started hallucinating. Then I stopped talking. Then I absolutely hated every rock and stone that hit my foot some sleep deprivation is now getting worse and worse and worse. I was convinced, and I said this to Damien, I was convinced, Damien, when we did this recce run from Greg's Hut, you said it was all downhill, and it wasn't really, there was a couple of ups and there was downhill. When I've just done it, when I've done it during the spine, it absolutely was not downhill, and it felt like a farmer had been up there and laid down tons and tons of new
Oh,
stones because I
mm,
was hitting every single stone. Nothing was
mm,
nothing was flat.
mm,
So I was convinced that something bad had happened. And then by the time we got down to what's the little town called before Alston?
Gary, is it Gary Gill?
Gary Gill.
Gary
Is it
Gill.
Gary? Yeah, yeah, Gary Gill. We've got like the 20 fields and 20 styles. I could absolutely have just fallen asleep just walking.
Mm,
But it was lasagna that was just keeping me focused on get to lasagna, get to lasagna, get to
yeah.
the lasagna.
Yeah, because you think that you once you drop down from Greg's Hut, you this a long way down from Greg's Hut into even though you think, oh, I'm just it's just down from here, it's fine, and then you hit Garrig. It is Garrigal, isn't it? Yeah,
I think so.
Gary,
Yeah,
the angel of Garrigal, isn't it? So I think, yeah,
at the post office and
yeah, exactly, yeah.
yeah, it's much longer. And I think
Anyway.
also that makes recce's quite interesting actually because had I not recce'd it, I'd have had no knowledge of how close or how far I thought
Mm,
that Gary Gill and Alston were.
mm,
Because I'd reckoned it, my brain was telling me it's really close.
yeah,
Reality was very different, and that
yeah,
actually was negative for that
mm,
moment. I'd rather have not had any expectation.
mm,
But then the flip side to that, you could also say is because I was sleep deprived and I needed to sleep. Had I not known where Alston was, I may have bivvied out because I was like, oh my god, this is too far away.
mm,
So that's the game that we're playing in ultra running, isn't it? It's just very much what is right for us. How do we
mm.
do it, and what do we do?
That's the beauty of it, isn't it? Is the
Mm.
whole problem solving aspect of ultra running. And that's what keeps you interested, isn't it? Because you keep coming back, don't you? Because even if you do the same race again, things can be totally different, can't they? And you think that that's the reason why you keep coming back to races.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Yeah, like things like the multi-stages backpack that I had back in 2016 is very different to the backpack I have this year in mountain. It's smaller, it's lighter because I know how much food I need to eat. I know what kit I need to carry. I'm not thinking, oh my God, might I need that?
Mm,
I'm thinking, don't need it. Now, obviously, everybody's different, so everybody's backpack will be different.
mm,
That's what makes it exciting because you're accountable for what you put in your backpack. Um,
It's yeah, it's and kit as well. With the spine race, it's a bit of a kit nightmare, isn't it?
This is a good debate to have. There's been a lot of debate
Yeah.
on the kit
There
for
is
sure.
there is a lot of
Look,
debate. Yeah.
there's a lot of kit you just don't use, right? But that said, maybe the whole entire kit does get used by
Mm.
people within that spot within the entire spine race,
Mm.
So I get why we
Poo
have.
shovel? Did you use your poo shovel?
Have not used the poo shovel. And that is a ridiculous one, right? Come on, is that is ridiculous. I mean, it's a tough one. You've got safety. Nobody wants anybody to get caught on the hill. If you don't
Mm.
have a poo shovel, what's the worst that's going to happen?
I think the one of the times when I could have used my poo shovel, the ground was it was like -10, and there's no way no one was digging a hole.
Well, we could have used it this year to dig ourselves out of the snow. I mean, it was incredible. I lost my head a couple of times where the challenge we had was, of course, we couldn't always, or we couldn't hardly, from my memory, get onto the actual Pennine Way because of the snow. So
Mm.
whoever cut out a trail, the guys before us on the Saturday did us an absolute turn because had they not done that, we'd have been in a whole world of pain. But then at some areas, you're on a bit, but your watch is beeping you, telling you you're off
Yeah,
trail. You try and get to the trail, you can't get on the trail. I mean, it's an absolute mind. You know what I
Mm.
mean?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, there's I was up at Hawes, watching the guys coming off Challenger South, um, and they just looked like they'd been through a war. And when you think of how the first two guys, like Mark Derbyshire, and I can't remember the other guy, they just both just quit and just called it a day because it was so bad. You just think runners of that caliber
Right.
just quitting because of how bad the conditions were, and then the other guys just sort of stomped through and made it to the finish. You can sort of see why, but then someone's got to go through first, haven't they? So
Yeah, yeah. This is true, and yeah, I mean, just fair play and respect for doing that because that is hard graft. Doing the distance is hard graft. Having to cut trail in fresh snow. And that's hard graft. But
What
then
I'm
it
sure.
melted, then it was all flooding, and then it refroze, and it was all slippy and icy. Just like, what is going on? It was-
That is, you've got every, yeah, you seem to get every season over the course of the race, don't you?
You do, yeah, yeah. And the back end of it, sort of up towards, sort of up the Newcastle way and up the Scotland way was just beautiful. Sunny weather. It was warm, almost t-shirt running. This is
Yeah,
very different to where it was the couple of nights before.
yeah, flipping out. Yeah, that's mental, isn't it? It can change so much, and people can have different experiences of the race depending on how quick or how slow you are. So you can be finishing. One guy can be finishing in like a t-shirt, and then the next guy can be finishing in snow all the other way around.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So variable, which makes it exciting, and that's why you need your big mandatory kit.
Why you need your poo shovel.
Why you need your poo shovel.
Awesome. Well, it's been awesome talking to you, and I appreciate it. And we didn't actually talk about the spine as much as I thought we would. So it was great to sort of chat to you and find out about your coaching and that's great. So for anyone that's sort of interested in taking that approach of sorting the technique out and then training for big races, you've got that caliber. You've been there, done that, got the t-shirt, so people can sort of come to you and use your knowledge and your experience. So hopefully there'll be some people will be learning some stuff. It's made me think about technique and stuff like that and thinking, am I running as efficiently as I could be? And I'm sure I'm not. So there'll be plenty of people out there that will be thinking the same thing. So I'll make sure that we put all the links to your website and your socials and everything in the show notes and stuff. So appreciate you coming on and giving us a bit of your time, mate.
Oh well, look, Sam, thank you for the plug there. Absolutely wasn't expecting a plug at all. So thank you
No,
very much indeed. Of course, I can help you out if you want some help on your technique. So
yeah,
just drop us a message or send us a video afterwards. But yeah,
yeah,
thanks so much for having me. Absolutely delighted to just keep talking about ultra running, making the community bigger and bigger, making it more accessible for people. Because nature's there. We all feel so good when we're in nature. So let's get more people out there and achieving amazing things. So thanks again for having me, and
yeah.
hopefully we'll be back here in 2 years'
Yes,
time.
yes, yeah,
We'll see
definitely, yeah, yeah.
what we can
Well,
talk about.
yeah, yeah, maybe I'll get my backside in gear and I'll end up getting putting in for the full race again, maybe.
Yes, go on, Sam. Go on.
Yeah, yeah. Cheers, mate. Thanks for
Nice
coming on.
one. Cheers, then,
Cheers,
mate.
mate.
Have a good
Thanks
evening.
for listening, everyone. Cheers.
Cheers, guys. Thanks
Bye,
now.
bye,
Bye
bye,
bye.
bye, bye.